What's happening?
Oh, I don't know. I'm just, I guess seeing how you're doing.
Well, it's not the way I expected the holidays to take place, with her over there and me over here. But I guess that's what creation called for. So new forward step is in the works. I guess that's how it's got to be.
Yeah, I kind of need her. I could really use her help with, talking to certain people, like females and stuff. Cause I'm not. The females that I see and I talk to, this one female I know who lives in Canada, it's like, they're really like you see they could have potential, but the transubstantiation is like, seems to be a problem.
Yeah.
And it seems to be more like geared towards their mindset, I guess. Yeah.
Well, a lot of them spend a lot of time doing meditation.
Yeah.
And meditation is basically the Buddhist system of parking your brain so that you can be fed by remote control their programming. Not surprising, difficult to get through to people.
But she said, I don't know how true it is, but she said if I was up there on your farm, she would be willing to go there. But I don't know if you could get to her. Maybe if she saw things with her own eyes, because the things I was saying, it was like affecting her. It was just, she was trained like early in her life in this type of, I guess, these rituals. Well, maybe Jenny could help her. I don't know.
Yeah, well, that'll happen, but exactly when?
Yeah,
we're working at it, but really comes down to creation decides that it's taken care of the other stuff that needs to be in place. And a lot of that, I suspect, is going to have to wipe out, cleanse, flush, whatever term one wants to use. It's happening all over the world.
Yeah.
I mean, those who are waiting for cataclysmic events to begin just are not watching the news these days.
I seen Indiana the other day. There was one in New York, matter of fact, an earthquake in New York a few months back. So.
You got Australia underwater there, that whole northeast corner. Got earthquakes in Chile, water, typhoons, snow like no one ever believed was possible on Mount Washington in British Columbia.
Did you know? It's yesterday, matter of fact. Some guy called me up and he said, he's like, yeah, I was checking out your site and I found it interesting. I'm into that same type of thing. And then he told me that he was a master mason. And I was basically telling him, it's not everybody, they're all lied to and all this stuff. And he goes to tell me that he joined this thing because he wanted to know what it was all about. That's just what he told me, and I don't, because I've heard what you said, like those types of people or Masons, they act like they're on your side and they stab you in the back.
Mm-hmm. You don't need to climb a pyramid to know what it looks like.
Yeah.
Matter of fact, the further away you stand back from it, the more you can see.
Yeah. Well, I'm still gonna, give him the information. That way he can say, he can never say I never knew.
Yeah. Everybody deserves to know the story once.
Yeah.
Sometimes twice. More than that is nagging.
Yeah. So I was hanging out with me and Danny. We were hanging out. We came over, and we were watching like the TV, watching ABC, and they had Dick Clark on. And this guy, it was like a circus show, the way they presented everything. Because Dick Clark was doing the countdown, and I don't know if you know he had like a stroke.
No.
Yeah, the guy's sound doesn't even sound like, how people when half their brain shuts down, like their speech.
Yeah.
And that's how he sounds. And then they had like reporters who were ex-Playboy models or strippers, and it's just insane, man. And I'm just looking at all the symbolisms that they show for the new year. I used to be big into rap music and stuff like that, and I looked into it and I see like a lot of them, they portray themselves as these really hardened people, or whatever, they gangster and all this stuff. But yet they're not telling everybody that a lot of them are homosexual and they do these things behind closed doors. And I think that's the only reason why they seem to be like famous, a lot of those guys.
Yeah.
It's like the same thing as politics I see in that music industry. If you want to get big, you got to sleep with or do whatever do sexual favors for, or get a picture taken of you with, one of the big guys or whatever. But
they got to have something to hang over your head before they allow you into their inner sanctum.
Yeah. But I don't know. I think, Glenn, Jenny will be over there this year.
Yeah.
I'm hoping. I hope she's up there.
Well, if creation does a little cleansing of the people who are preventing things from going ahead, I'm sure you will. The time has come. It's there's a solar eclipse 4th. What was opened up on the 21st of December as possibilities should start to take place, because they link all those events not the eclipse that makes things happen.
Mm-hmm.
It's the events that are linked to the eclipse.
Yeah, because I was wondering these eclipses that were happening. Like there was one eclipse before Christmas, I think it was. They said didn't happen in like over 400 years.
Yeah.
And I didn't.
Lunar.
Yeah, but I didn't see it because it was not like the skies around where I lived all cloudy, so I couldn't see it.
Well, I didn't see the actual eclipse, but I saw the effect of it because I was looking at through the window out my back door, and could see, because it was a full moon as well, the profile of the tree tops at the back. As the eclipse moved in, it got darker and darker, and then you lost sight of thing along the treetop line. Then a couple of hours later, it started to reappear. Though we weren't seeing the actual event, we were seeing the end product, the result of it. Now the solar eclipse won't be seen in the east, northeast, happening, seen mostly in Asia. But there is a special event in eclipses this year, so I'm sure they've tied something to it. 1st of June, 1st of July, 2 more solar eclipses. And then the Pope has called a meeting at Assisi, 26th of October. That means that religious people from all over the world will be assembling at a place where they can all be done in at once. And it's significant that it's in Assisi, S-E-C, which basically means a beginning here.
And when's this?
26th of October. Just before November 11th. Dealing with 4 days in October and 10 days November for the big event. So 14 is a 5, and a 5 is the gateway or entry. I suspect you're going to see similar activity for Washington, where Obama, the Vice President Joe Biden, and Nancy Pelosi, who are 1, 2, 3.
You say Nancy Pelosi or Nancy?
Nancy. Nasty Nancy.
I did from reading your post, Glenn. It's like I'm seeing it more and more details of their movements and their people. Like you mentioned one guy, not one guy, but you look at the background of all these reporters that you see, or people that they have come on, like military generals, and a lot of them are German, Frankish. I'm like, wow, man, that's interesting. And I look at all the names of all the reporters, and you see that they're all like
Middle ground.
Yeah.
Media.
Yeah. I see that. So.
Medis makes seeds.
Mm.
They seed our minds with false stories. As soon as we accept their point of view, they call us idiots because they switch.
Yep. They plant the seed and give us our perceptions daily. False perception. But yeah, Brian told me that Tom called him up, and he's like Tom's kind of like not like he's almost, I guess it's the same. Him and Ambika, they're kind of MIA for the, I guess the same, maybe similar reasons as Jennifer.
Mm-hmm.
Because they don't want to be like, because I'm all over the internet. I'm putting a post and talking about the stuff with people all the time. And I don't know, maybe they are hearing what I'm thinking, but I don't. There's certain things I won't talk about. Like, I won't talk about so much personal things in my life. So I think that's why they're not they're not on. Because he told her, like, he told Brian that he sees the enormity of everything and that they know our thoughts or something like that. And he doesn't want to say anything because he wants to be able to protect Ambika or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
So they're kind of not saying anything. But from my point of view, this is my opinion. From my point of view, you kind of got you like hemmed up in a corner, not saying anything. Or, there's a lot that you know, and you're not saying anything about it. Maybe people in your own life, maybe that's what it was. Maybe that's what he's doing. But
there's the most important thing in all of this. There is timing.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's time to speak, and sometimes it's time to listen. We are at a stage right now, a nation who's been listening is about to speak.
When he speaks, people, or when it speaks, or they speak.
So it's best to kind of just wait a little while, and you'll save yourself a lot of angst, because a lot of things that people don't believe in yet. Get home to that.
Yeah. Well, there's a social network that I go on. It's called Facebook, and it's basically everybody sees everything you're doing. And I use it as a method. I put your post up because everybody can see it. And I put a post up, plus things that I've seen about like what was to look out for in 2011, like the main things. And I'm just warning everybody. It has to be said from my point of view. Like, this is gonna happen. Like, it's my cousin. I keep hearing what you're saying. 100 million people minimum. So that's like.
But you always have to remember that it's a window,
Yeah.
and it's somebody whose finger has to push the button. So you have to be careful that although educated guesses are fine, pretty certain that we know what schedule they hope for.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean that they can't move it to earlier periods in 2011, like month of May is
Yeah.
is probably a significant month, or they could move it to 2014. They have that window, which is 2008 to 2016. We know they always keep number 2 in the background. Number 16 could very well become 18. So I'm always leery about specific dates. But I don't want at the same time to have people think that, oh, this is a 50-year plan and therefore I don't have to wait.
I don't have to. I'd rather always be kind of...
Years. No, it can happen today.
Like, for me personally, I think 2011. I just seen so many things that kind of point in that direction. But I'm not saying the full effect. Like, it might not even be like earthquakes. Like I was thinking, it could be, because you send them 3 phases and they can happen in any
order.
So they could shoot the moon out the sky
tomorrow
and have tsunamis, and that's...
One thing to remember is that 2020 limits them because they're basically, they've prepared everything around the fact that when you see 2020, you see clearly.
Mm-hmm.
So in order to see clearly by 2020, most of events must have had some impact. Communications will be taken over so that by 2020 or in 2020, there will be a message sent out that will overlap anything that's being broadcast. And will explain what went on, what is going on, and what is being planned.
Yeah, like when I like it's clear to me. It's starting to become more and more clear every day, Glenn. Like I watch the news and I see like how they set everything up. It's like so. It's just such a like an obvious message that putting across in my point of view. And they have certain people come up and they say certain things, and they have certain people interview, and just the area where they're at, or just all these things. Like New Year's was really, I was like, wow, man. And you know, I guess most of the people they didn't even have a clue, but it was these little things that I guess most people won't see. But I was surprised, kind of, when I seen that stuff. But I don't see those. Or I do see to an extent, but I just I guess I don't have, like, I can overstand and understand to a degree, but I don't have enough information to kind of put it all together. I haven't seen enough things in my life.
Oh, when the gray nuns pack their bags and leave none of it like they did last month, you can believe that the word none of it.
None of it's going to be left, you think?
Yeah. They would know. On leaving, went on the air to tell the world what a terrible thing it was for them to have to meet at this time Sister Dora raft, getting on the raft
The Door was actually a children's show, popular. Dora the Explorer, they call it.
It's part of NORAD.
Yeah.
It's part of
Radon.
radon gas.
Yeah.
It's all over the place. So, Grey Nuns move the bones of their founder.
Yeah, I want to ask you a
Marguerite.
question. What'd you say?
Marguerite de Youville. They moved her bones out of Montreal. Month.
Where they moved them to?
Back where she was born.
Where's that?
Varennes is the name of the town.
In Canada?
Yeah, in Quebec. Yeah. When they move the bones, you can be sure that they're getting ready for an event.
Yeah, because they still need her.
Thing to the government that they've occupied for. Said the handover of the property is in 2014, but they've taken the money already. Move their mortuary, their ossuary. They know where their building is in Montreal will be underwater.
So, I wanted to ask you a question about, like transubstantiated people. A word that I hear a lot with people who are drunk, right? But I can tell when I hear
What does transubstantiation mean to you?
It means that they're drunk and they're changed in a different way inside.
Yeah.
But they may look normal, but when you hear them open their mouth, it's a word I hear them use. It's love. Love will conquer everything. Love is. I remember in your post you said someone, one of their people, you said, all you need is love.
Yeah, you have to look at the word linked to that in English.
Lava.
Lava.
Yeah, lava will conquer everything, right?
Yeah. But in French, it's lave, which basically means to wash.
Yeah.
So it's when they're saying love, they're saying the cleansing.
Yep. That's what I thought. I thought you. I thought it might be more to it, because they're like, and so Buddhism is the love religion, right?
Yeah. So is Christianity. They don't really love, but they like to hide behind the possibility that they can get away with criminal activity ending the love.
I've watched movies. I watched this movie. It was like a Zen influenced movie the other day. And it was depressing for me, Glenn. Like, they make it where like the Buddhist knows, the monk knows everything, and
that's why they call us city Zen.
I'm understanding how they work now more.
You start meditating, you open up your brain, and they fill it.
Yeah.
And they fill it with El Toro poo-poo.
And you said they do it remotely, so
yeah.
So you're saying it's like a type of advanced technology they have?
Absolutely. That's why the Earth is called Earth. It's the big ear that listens in on one end and it broadcasts on the other end. So in order to get your attention for more than a split second, which they can do to affect scores in have you by distracting somebody for a second. If they really want to program you, abandon yourself. And that's meditation. The word medi, you're going to get it from the media, the medis. Blank out your brain, open it up, and they fill it. Creation said there was a time when you shouldn't be working or using yourself. You should be storing things and preparing your archives. To do that, you fall asleep. In your sleep, you kind of position everything that you've learned in its proper place.
Yeah.
And that's sufficient for gaining back energy and being prepared for another day. You don't need to take the time that's devoted to work or searching or leisure in order to complete a day. But the Buddhists want you to do that so that they have total access without interference to your brain. And doesn't matter what you tell them, they lie. They just make up whatever they want. So wasting time arguing with them is not worth the effort. Sometimes you take a chance and say, well, maybe. But usually it ends up proving that you were right all along, that these people don't listen. They have an agenda. They're out to manufacture their agenda.
More than one Buddhist. Matter of fact, Jenny made a comment about a Buddhist on one of the sites I have. And
guy from St. Louis. St. Louis is the place of the arch. It's the place Pope John XXIII needed to go. It's basically where the Mormons first established themselves.
Oh, and they got kicked out, right?
Yeah. So, and it's linked to the kings of France, and the word yes, Louis is oui, yes, in French. So it's a waste of energy.
Yeah, when I was talking to him, it was a waste of energy. I seen that, and I think he tried calling you up, and he told me you hung up on him or something like that.
Yeah.
But then there's another female, but she's not a Buddhist, but she still practices some Eastern rituals. She believes that she has to go through rituals to, I don't know, I guess have a peace of mind or something, or she thinks that she's, I don't know if she calls it something like cleansing or so, or attaining some type of
Kundalini.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm like, maybe I'm a guy, I'm too logical, maybe I'm too rational. It doesn't it's just I'm explaining. I'm like, these terms, this terminology, okay, it means this, but and you know what it is? They get screwed over because they have true experiences in their life, but they immediately associate it with this stuff, and kind of verifies it in their mind. So, I went through ritual, years ago, praying and stuff. But,
everybody goes through rituals. You turn a knob and the radio station starts to play. You click your clicker and your TV comes on. And it's the same thing. You're just getting information from the system packaged in different ways. Some intended for the masses, some intended directly for you. And the more you give them a chance to program you, the less a human you become. So it's time to just pack these people off and wait for creation's decision on how quickly it wants to cleanse.
I talked to another guy in Canada too, Glenn, who seems to be seems receptive with this information. He lives by, I think, Toronto. I was telling him about you. Oh, he knows about you. I hope he makes it up there himself.
Canadians who want to proceed have a better chance of doing it because they don't have to cross a border. And the border guards, they need a cleansing. You know, there's many of them that have been given uniforms, believe that they have the protection of highest power. They can act and do whatever it is they want. Border Guard management doesn't cleanse that operation. It will be cleansed. And not in the way they would like it. Right now, the place that Jenny was blocked from entering Canada is a place called Emerson, Manitoba. Emerson is a play on the word immersion. It's going to be underwater. As she approached there from Fargo in Dakotas, North Dakota, I think, everything was basically flooded. Trees grew out of puddles, used to be fields. As you move to the Canadian border and you go 50 miles north, you're basically at some of the biggest lakes other than the Great Lakes. Lake Winnipeg, Lake Winnipegosis, Lake of the Woods, that kind of is on the Ontario-Manitoba border. And all of that is going to be underwater. Saskatchewan basically had a drought at the beginning of the season and a flood at the end of the growing season. So a lot of wheat that would normally have gone onto the market this fall isn't there. Repercussions down the line.
How are you able to gauge, like, from looking at weather patterns?
Well, you can if you know your geography and you know the geology of the region. And I've been across a number of occasions and doing speaking engagements in all the little towns along the way. So I'm pretty familiar. You think of it as North America is like a house. It's basically the bathroom I'm thinking about. So you have in a big house wash basins, washrooms separate from bathrooms, as well as the ones in the bathroom. Mount Washington in British Columbia on Vancouver Island has just received something like 30 feet of snow. That's like being in a wash closet in a hallway. It's outside the mainland, outside the bathroom. But then you look at Seattle is in Washington State, and the capital is at the other end in Washington, the capital, and both of them are suggesting that you're in a big bathroom, and there's one bathroom for the male and one for the female, one sink for each, and then you walk towards the middle and you have falls, especially in Yellowstone National, 600 and some feet high, like the shower in the bathroom. Then you arrive in a place like Manitoba and Saskatchewan, you see these big lakes. They're like bathtubs. You know, male, female, side by side, sitting in bathtubs, you can imagine it. And when you sit in a tub, you're immersing yourself, and not by accident that it's Ralph Waldo Emerson, on whom this entry point between the U.S. and Canada is named. Ralph is basically a play on raft, and Waldo is the French version of radeau, and Emerson is immersion. Central part is going to be like being in the bathtub. Then you arrive at Lake Superior, and that's the tank on the back of the toilet. And below the tank, you have the actual bowl itself. Is Lake Michigan, Lake Huron, Georgian Bay, Gore Bay, Lake St. Clair, the narrowing of the Detroit River, Erie, the Bruce Peninsula, all of that will be underwater in the toilet. And you flush it. That's like the Niagara River with the Niagara Falls. It disappears down. Lake Ontario is the catch basin. Under a toilet, you have this curve in the piping to catch anything of value. And then what is surplus kind of floods over the top like into a septic tank. Septic tank will be New York, Pennsylvania, Indiana, Ohio. It will work its way down all the way to Flushing. They play tennis. Tennis is basically a game where one person ball in one direction and the other one returns it.
It's a giving and receiving.
Tennis in China, ping pong they call it. So
yeah, it's like about, on one level, I guess, it's about like giving and receiving.
Is it a coincidence that Flushing is the Chinese area of New York City? But, you know, south of Lake Ontario, you got a place called Fort Drum. Fort Drum is one of the largest military installations in the U.S. Supposedly there to train for desert warfare. What desert is there in northern New York? It's kind of hard to figure out based upon what is there today. But next to it is a town called Watertown. If you're needing a hint,
So they're not going to be needed, basically, you're saying.
Yeah.
They're being prepared for the total opposite.
The Fort Drum is preparing to move into Canada, to the peninsula, not the peninsula, the Canadian Shield, and take as much control of Ottawa as they can. Because there will be a number of Americans who will be sent to Canada. It means that the government of Canada will become a government of North America, and there will be Americans and Canadians like NORAD working there. So a lot of the people will have to be killed in Ottawa.
Yeah, radon gas or radon
are American.
Like when you look at each town or state, do you look for kind of key words that kind of fit into this?
Yeah, well, right behind Ogdensburg is a place called Canton, and then so that links to China, and then you have Potsdam, links to Germany. And you have Messina at one end, Syracuse at the other end, both Italy. So the Vatican, the Italian peninsula, Germany, and China are the targets. So Montreal is the mount is real. And real is the word ear. It's from there that they listen in. Same thing they called Madrid. Soccer team is called Real Madrid. Basically the listening device that sends information back to the system. Gray nuns were created as the first New World Order in Montreal. They then expanded to Ottawa and completed the triangle by moving to Ogdensburg.
How long did that order exist? It's like 1800s or?
Yeah, in the 1800s. And it was basically founded by Trappist monks making booze to sell to Indians.
And where did the Trappists come from? Germany, so they have Frankish origin.
So they prepared the trap, and they handed over to somebody called Uville. They form, after they make all the money off stealing furs from Indians for booze, they form the Grey Nuns. So they are the first group of a new world order.
So I remember you said in the past something like how each continent will be destroyed, and you said Africa was last. Like it seems you only know as far as like America, North America, but you wouldn't know those details for like China, Europe.
Yeah, well, I do know it because I've been following what Canadians have been doing. Canadians were basically set up here. Holland, Dutch, and Ottawa, all these tulips every spring because we kept the royal family safe during World War II in Ottawa. But when you look at the Dutch's role in the movement of the orange men around the world and how they took over South Africa and Rhodesia, which is now Zimbabwe, their influence is no different from their influence here. And Brazil, Argentina, and Chile. Colombia means that it's ABCC. So you have position of each country in South America. Chile is the spine.
It got ruptured.
Yeah. Argentina means silver. Brazil means the nurturer. It's the support structure of the breast, is a bra.
Yeah. But the bra lies.
Bra in Brazil is the Amazonian woman who cut off her breast to be a better archer. Cutting off of breasts was not an accident. All of the breast cancer is just an experiment.
Yeah.
And the experiment is, how can you manufacture devices that you can insert in breasts and hide the fact they're there? What device would you want to insert? Well, if you want to know everything a man is thinking, put it in the breast, because he's going to be close by. So you have the speaker part of the telephone would be in a breast. Listening part of the telephone should be in a place that is higher up. The other elements up at pseudo-hermaphrodite, gills, prod, tellus, all of these things, the shape of the ladder, the Neanderthal, holding things together, all of these symbols, a 10, basically telling you that the woman you will see in the future, conglomerate emerging of 10 different elements.
10 different parts.
All of these things have to be, first of all, manufactured, hard, technological, mechanical devices. Then they have to be miniaturized. Then they have to be turned into an equivalent in biochemical computing, so that eventually they don't appear in an X-ray. Right now, what they do is basically do the testing, put an implant on women, they insert something else in there along with add that they want to increase or decrease the breast by. Have to keep track of that in a way that they will know, especially once they get to the bio level, since it won't appear on X-rays. So what they're doing is they're marking what they've done on the upper palate of the mouth. Dentists can see X-ray technician looking at the head, see the markings on the upper palate. Plastic surgeons have to do two things. They have to be linked to plastic surgery of the breast area, but they must also have an excuse for working on the palate. Normally call that work on a cleft lip, cleft palate, cleft tongue. All basically their languaging.
Yeah.
To say to other doctors who come in the future, this is the work I've done.
Wow, it's so stealthy.
It's been in the works for thousands of years, so you can't be shocked at the quality of the work being done.
Yeah.
It's only the application of that technology, recent, West. They've been working at that stuff. I mean, why do you think a Hindu gets a big dot in the middle of the forehead? It's basically to identify this is a person we're working on.
Yeah.
This is our product.
And I see those little markers on different people, different types of markers.
In the future, what that represents is the third eye, because they're not satisfied at the person who's carrying that reporting exactly what they saw. So they have to have the pituitary gland linked in so that it records the picture, sends it out through the communications device to the iPod and back to discontinuity in the computers. You see that dot in the middle of the forehead, you can truthfully think of it as a all-seeing eye. Merges two eyes into one and sends the message out. That can be part of what gets done, downloading and uploading during a period where people typically in self-induce. All of these things now, this coming decade, require that they begin the merging of all of these elements, separate today, but all together in one person by 2020, tested for another 40 years. It over to Brazil or Argentina or Chile. Workable device. Beta test flight will last the next 1,000 points of light that George Bush and others talk about is the St. Lawrence Seaway. Look at the area from Ogdensburg to Kingston. There are 1,000 islands. It's called 1,000 Islands.
They made it kind of obvious.
When you travel on a tour boat through those islands, especially at night, all you see is a point of light. Now that's to tell the people that the southern side of the St. Lawrence Seaway is part of the Canadian Shield, and that it will remain part of the Nordic continent, Cap continent. It will be something like Great Britain is to Europe. Be for travelers from the south to come there and report in and get permission to travel. It be the quarantine center for people who are coming in and out. And that's just about 5 miles max from the water going south, is higher in its geology than what comes after. So as it rises, the water will flow further south. Canal, which is the St. Lawrence Seaway, from Kingston to Montreal, will not be a canal, but it'll be a moat. Till such time as somebody builds locks at both ends and closes it off and refills it with water, it's just basically going to be a moat. And that's also part of So Moat It Be. So I'm looking at where Jennifer is as being on one side of the stem cell. I'm on the other side of the stem cell. What will be allowed to remain much smaller an area today. So north of the 53rd parallel is going to be warmer than it has been, and therefore much of what not usable today because it's too cold will become usable at some time in the future. The breadbasket of America will move north. Toward it, and that's basically what we now call the Northwest Territories, Yukon. Don't count on Nunavut except if you're in the fish farming business. It's going to be underwater. Coming up from Brazil or South Africa, basically be directed to Ogdensburg, where there are a lot of empty rooms today, built at one time as girls' schools or hospitals or old people's homes or prisons. All of those beds are being maintained, even though there's nobody living or working in most of it today. The gang comes, they won't be allowed to go to the Nordic continent without first quarantine. Spaces there. The main church in Ogdensburg is called Sacred Heart. Sacred is another word for red sack, a red bag. And it's basically Santa Claus's bag, all the goodies.
The Nazi cause.
Yeah. If you read a story in England recently, there was a decipherer of codes.
Oh yeah, I heard about that.
It was found in a red bag in his apartment.
Wow.
It's all linked to what's going on.
Yeah.
But because I've lived 69 years, I have a memory for irrelevant detail.
Seems irrelevant, but it pops up when you're looking at something.
At the right moment in time, it comes together.
That's what happens to me, Glenn. Like, I'll be looking at something, but it's, I guess I'm younger, it's different, but I'll look at something in a memory from something I've seen or read, and it'll pop up. And I'm like, oh, wow. It's like, I think that's all that's the brain, right? That's all brain memory. thought, I guess.
In any event, Jared, I've spent more time than I should have, and I have a wife sitting on a chair or on the edge of the bed waiting for me to call back before she can go to sleep. So,
yeah, tell her, well, I don't want to say Happy New Year, but just, I don't know.
Let's just say creation's will be done.
Yeah, thank you, Glenn.
We'll talk to you again.
Okay.
Bye for now.